Welcome back to Challenge Call of Max and Avery. I'm your host, Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right. Sorry we missed our second episode last week. I think we're going to start kind of rolling back to more of the traditional one episode a week. It was fun while it lasted, but it's a little bit hectic. And who knows? Maybe we'll drop a special episode every month or so. Like we'll pop a couple out a week, but standard, I'd say expect just about one episode a week. Avery, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm living in a snow globe lately. I got like 6 inches of snow, Monday, Tuesday, and then we're expected to get like 2 to 3 more inches in Omaha again tonight. And then Friday is supposed to be another 2 to 3 inches in the morning. So I'm ready for the snow to stop. I'm burnt out already.
Yeah, you're telling me. We just got back from Nashville yesterday. I almost died. We got 12 inches of snow. And so first of all, we're in a minivan coming back from Nashville from the convention, and it was getting rough as we started like reaching the Iowa border. Like it was right around Davenport-ish. A little before that, like it was snowing, but it was fine, it was whatever to us. Once we started hitting Davenport, that's when things started to slow down, get a little sketchy out, and we kind of hit some skids and bumps and whatnot. We had to completely end up getting off the interstate and take like a back road up to Highway 30, which was not fun. All that was whatever, though. The real kicker was once I got in my car at the school afterwards to drive back home to my apartment. The wind took me straight from the right lane over to the left lane, and the only reason I didn't ditch it is because the left lane had a huge snow wall right there. Barely almost got out of that snow wall, though. Just today, I got done putting 4 new tires on my car. I bought a shovel. I've been shoveling all day, fucking out and about, dealing with shit. So I am tired.
Dude, sounds awful. Yeah, no, Liam, my son, we had to take him to the urgent care the other day. He's sick again, and I had to shovel my way out of the driveway, and my car got stuck like 3 or 4 times just trying to get out of the driveway. I'm like, what happened to our mild winter? But
right. I got stuck getting into my driveway last night. I got stuck getting out of the school parking lot. First of all, we had to shovel my way out there. I got stuck trying to park in my driveway last night, or in my parking lot, whatever. Someone had a shovel, came out, helped me out there. I had to shovel out Mallory's car at the airport because she's flying home tonight. Her flight actually got delayed until today. Like she was supposed to fly back yesterday, same time we were driving back, but that flight got delayed until tonight. So now she's finally going to be coming back. But it has just been absolute chaos ever since I got home.
Fun stuff, man. And now we are recording. So like there you go. The dedication is real.
Dedication is real. That being said, we'll go ahead and get started with the episode we have for you guys today. First things first, we are going to start off with some sports news. Biggest chunk of news I think we have is Nick Saban officially has announced his retirement following their Alabama's college football playoff loss to Michigan. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this was kind of a long time coming. Ever since like the college football flipped with the transfer portal and the NIL, Alabama's still a contender, and that job is going to be a very, very coveted job for anybody in college football. But I also think at the end of the day, too, Nick Saban's too old. He doesn't want to deal with that type of shit. I mean, he left the NFL for that reason to go work with college athletes that still cared about the game. And I'm not saying college athletes don't care about the game, but when you throw money into it and you throw like the NIL and transfer portal and everything, there's no loyalty there.
I saw something that he said not recently, but I think it was a little while back, a couple of years back, because everyone's been asking him about his retirement for years now. Just every year, it's, are you retiring? Are you retiring? And he had a quote and stuff that his recruits were even coming to him and saying, like, are you going to retire to, like, can I guarantee that you're going to be the head coach here for 4 years, like, if I decide to come here? And with all this transfer portal, NIL and everything, his response was, are you going to guarantee to me that you're going to stay here for 4 years? Like this isn't a one-sided transaction. Like you can't expect a coach to be there for all 4 of your years if you can't promise and like guarantee 100% that you're going to be in that program for 4 years with no repercussions either. Like it goes both ways in that regard.
And you're 100% correct. Like at the end of the day, it does go both ways. And I think Nick Saban was getting a taste of it too. And he's like, this is not what I signed up for. Because like you go back to his NFL tenure with the Dolphins, he hated being an NFL coach. I guarantee the last 3 years, he's just really hated being like the head coach at Alabama just because of that. And when you get older, things start to seem like they don't care as much. And I think he's at that retirement age where he's like, I'm done. Like I made my mark on college football. I'm done. I'm curious to see who the new head coach is going to be, how long Alabama is going to take to replace his shoes, because that's not just replacing like Joe Blow. That's replacing one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in college football.
That is definitely going to be a very, very difficult thing to do. This right here says that they've been conducting numerous interviews for assistant positions in the past 24 hours. This was posted 5 hours ago. So within the past 24 hours, like all day Wednesday and stuff, they've been doing interviews with assistant coaching positions and all of that. So I don't know if they have a guy planned out or set yet, or if they're just kind of waiting, trying to get some assistance in to bring a head guy in. That would be very backwards. But
Yeah.
you need someone to recruit too at the same time. You know what I mean? Like someone has to be doing your recruiting while you're between coaches. You need somebody working there.
And that the perfect thing that you just said is someone that's worked under him, bringing in an assistant guy that might have already worked under Nick Saban. I mean, why not bring one of his former pupils back to Alabama? Like, he's got so many out there. Dabo Swinney for Clemson. Clemson had a terrible year. Dabo Swinney's a hell of a coach. You think he's not like hearing an offer from Alabama or wanting to interview? I bet he will. Lane Kiffin comes to mind, another Alabama pupil. Like Lane Kiffin, he had Ole Miss looking good this year. Like, I mean, so at the end of the day, man, like there's a couple of guys that could easily take that position at Alabama and run. And you think Nick Saban, he's definitely left a good track record. Like it's not like he's leaving on bad terms.
Nick Saban as a head coach was 292 to 71 in one tie. That's his overall record. Even just bowl games, not even bowl games, but Alabama was 9-5 in college football playoff games. So he set a record at Alabama. Literally, he gave Alabama the record of having 16 consecutive seasons with 10 or more wins. Like that is a very, very good spot to leave things off. Any coach would be lucky, which it goes back and forth a little bit with that too. Any coach would be lucky to be there, but at the same time, that's a very, very high pressured situation. That is one of those situations where even as a new head coach, you are expected to go in there and you are expected to win just from day one.
Yeah, 100%. And that's scary. Sometimes that doesn't work in the NFL. Or in college. Sorry, not the NFL. But
it doesn't work in football. You don't
it doesn't work in football. You're right. Yeah. So, but I hope to see one of those two guys I kind of mentioned. I would love to see Dabo Swinney take over Alabama. Something about that just sounds entertaining to me. But
I feel like that would open up a whole new issue of the controversy of SEC versus ACC. Like now you just lost probably the ACC's like best head coach.
Well, and that's why I'm saying that because the ACC's already taken a major hit with Florida State wanting out, which they haven't made a decision anything yet. But you go out and you take Clemson's head coach and you're like, he's the Alabama Crimson Tide's head coach now. Like that program and that conference, because Clemson, we mentioned it before, Clemson was probably that if you took Florida State's record with Clemson's name, Clemson still probably would have made the college football playoff because they built that track record under Dabo Swinney.
I don't disagree one bit.
Yeah, you take Dabo Swinney away from Clemson, that's just a subpar ACC team that probably wouldn't be able to compete with the SEC school. The ACC has nothing at that point.
Yeah, that would cry because I feel like we've talked so much about the power of conferences and whatnot, just talking about history, school names, track record. But the one thing we haven't talked about whatsoever in that whole relationship is the name of the coach.
Yeah.
Coaching, Clemson is a name, like you're saying, but at the same time, without the name of Dabo Swinney attached to it, it's not as big of a name. So,
Yeah.
definitely who is coaching where brings in another big key factor to that. So that would be a really interesting grab just from college football in general to have a coach like that stepping in, trying to start Alabama back up, not even starting back up again, but keep it rolling. Like they made the playoffs. Yeah, they lost in the first round, which I'm sure they don't enjoy. But at the same time, you were one of the top 4 teams that made the playoffs. Shut the fuck up. Be happy.
And I mean, they put it to the overtime to Michigan. So I mean,
They did.
look
They were
at that.
close.
Yeah, they were close. So they might have been the second best team in the country. If you really look at the head to heads, they might have been. So who knows?
That is fair. But speaking of some other coaching changes, we'll transition into the NFL a little bit more, mainly starting off with our Bears. I say coaching changes, but in this case, it is actually not a coaching change, as the Bears have officially decided to keep Eberflus for a 3rd season. However, that being said, just about every offensive coach is gone. Luke Getsy is gone. The quarterback's coach, the running backs coach, the wide receivers coach, the tight ends coach. I think that's pretty much all of them. I think they just got rid of just about every offensive coach that was on the staff with them.
To be honest, we called this, right? We said Eberflus would be back. I mean, he went 5-3 the last 8 games. That's pretty good. That's a good record. That's a good winning record. I would have liked to beat the end of the game or the end of the season of who we played, but at the end of the day, Eberflus, he had our defense rolling, and I think Ryan Poles is one of those GMs that's going to either live or die on the sword. And he picked his guy when he first came in to Chicago, and it was Eberflus. I think, yeah. And he picked. So I think he came in and he's like, okay, Eberflus, I'm giving you one more year. This team, this continuity that you have built, everybody loves to be here. I think he is gonna be the Bears coach for a long time. I think he'll figure it out next year. I'm hoping he'll figure it out.
And
there's a lot of big name coaches.
We're talking about it from a standpoint right now too of just the Bears last year were 3-14.
Yep.
Yes, we went 7-10, and that's not 7-10, and that's not great. But when you compare it to the starting ground of 3-14, that's a step up. That's 4 more games.
Yeah.
We won 4 more games this year. Offense was super rough. Defense really did start humming, like you said, which is mostly accredited to Eberflus, which is why he probably stayed. But at the same time, I get that we're really, really disappointed with this season, and it's not what we wanted, and it's not great. But at the same time, 4 more games. Yep. We won 4 more games. We do that one more year. Now we're 11 in math.
We're
6.
11-6. Yeah, we're 11-6, and that would be awesome, man. I would love that. I think that would be because that would put us as a playoff team and potentially winning our conference or winning our division. And so I think I see the progression being made, and I think Eberflus gets a bad rap because of how he started his tenure in Chicago. He started it very roughly. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think they got the right guy to can in Luke Getsy. I mean, he hasn't done much. I mean, we were excited because he was Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach. Why were we excited about that? Aaron Rodgers doesn't need a quarterback coach. I look back and we're excited because it's Luke Getsy came from Green Bay. They have a great offense, blah, 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 blah. And it all sounds like cow manure coming out of my mouth because it's just really, we let this guy make a mockery of us because I don't want to run a 3-yard bubble screen on 3rd and 17. It's not, what are we doing? Or the screen game. Why is Darnell Mooney still in the starting lineup? That's probably why what's his name? Tyler Tolbert, our wide receivers coach, got fired because of that reason. Darnell Mooney's progression hasn't made any stride. St. Brown's progression hasn't made much stride. The only person that really made stride in that wide receiver room this year is probably DJ Moore and Tyler Scott. And you can't even say Cole Kmet because he has a tight ends coach, which he was also let go. Tim Zetz, which I don't understand that one because Cole Kmet, Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tunyon had a pretty solid year for us.
I mean, you have to look at it more from just a general. The offense was not great, and they basically let go the entire offensive staff. It's it's just an entire thing. They're trying to revamp the offense. They're trying to just completely change it without, because that offense does meet. Luke Getsy ultimately makes the decisions, but everyone in that room sits there, meets about how to do things, when to do things. Like everybody talks, everybody works together, blah, 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 whatever. It's not like a hyper fixated, like my guy did fine, like my job is done. Like there's a lot of other things you do than just, make sure the tight end can perform. Like you have to
Right.
work in the whole system. And I think what their plan might be, what I would hope it is to bring in more of a bona fide offensive coordinator and potentially have him bring in his staff with him.
Which that would be fantastic. I would love that because like one aspect of this too is like I was excited a little bit when I saw Eberflus and when Ryan Poulsen said we want to continue this continuity with this team. We never said it was going to be a 1-year rebuild. We said it was going to be a multiple year rebuild because it solidified, okay, the Bears are going to trade the number 1 pick. And then I find out they fired the whole offensive staff and it's like new quarterback coach, new offensive coordinator. In a weird way, this is the perfect time to move on from Justin Fields. Because if you think about it, you got a new coach coming in. Justin Fields is going to have to learn his 4th playbook in 4 years, which is fucking terrible. And it's just like, I don't like that. But at the same time, if they bring in a guy that likes Justin Fields, maybe, or sees potential, maybe. But like, I was excited about the Eberflus, but then you dig deep back into it, it's like, or did they do that so they could draft a quarterback in number 1?
Yeah, that is the biggest question that leaves us, because you're right. It would make sense if we were to move on from Justin the same way we just moved on from our entire offensive staff. Like Eberflus is a defensive guy. That's what he is. He's not going to be the one sitting there being like, I hired a new OC, but here's my shit. Here's my system. Here's what you're going to do. That new OC is probably going to get pretty free reign to come in and be like, all right, here's what I do. Here's what I'm bringing to Chicago. And here's what we're going to change and make new. He's not going to use the old Eberflus system because I don't think it was Eberflus's system ever. He's a defensive guy. He should stay as a defensive guy. He should not try to be too offensively involved in things. And it does make a lot of sense if we would just start off with a new quarterback. We'd have a bad year next year. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not necessarily the way to have success in the next 2 years or anything. But maybe from the 3rd year, 4th year, going on for the next 10 years, we'd have a lot more success.
Which I want to throw out 2 names that are potential candidates for the Chicago Bears offense coordinator that are linked to Matt Eberflus. Frank Reich. Frank Reich, when he was in Indianapolis, Matt Eberflus was his defensive coordinator. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as the offense coordinator with Nick Foles. He was down in Carolina. He got fired earlier this year. But he has solidified himself in the NFL. And so I wouldn't mind Frank Reich coming in because he's a former head coach. He knows how to run things. He knows how to get the most out of quarterbacks for the most part. This year, Bryce Young, you can say, is like an off-brand, but like he got the most out of Jacoby Brissett. He got the most out of Carson Wentz. Like, you got to think, like, this guy has been around the block. So if you want
just the one standpoint there, former head coach. Like,
right.
That's the key. That's the key in my eyes. Former head coach.
Which I like. I like that experience at the coordinator position because we went very inexperienced with Luke Getsy when Eberflus came in. He'd never been a coordinator. So I wouldn't mind Frank Reich, and I guarantee his quarterback coach would be Josh McCown, which Josh McCown, former Bear. I would love that. Former quarterback in the NFL. I like that aspect of things because he could teach Justin a lot about the nuances of the game if we keep Justin. And then another guy that I think would just fit Justin Fields to a T is Greg Roman, offensive coordinator. He's bounced around a lot in the NFL. Greg Roman, he was Jim Harbaugh's offensive coordinator when he was with the 49ers. He got the most out of Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. And he made Colin Kaepernick have a few good years there, that he was like a really good quarterback in the NFL for a while. And then he went to the Baltimore Ravens and he developed Lamar Jackson. And then he went to the Buffalo Bills and he developed Josh Allen. So I wouldn't mind having Greg Roman as our coordinator, like either, because like experience, not at the head coaching position, but look at the quarterbacks he's mentored. like Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith, and then you go to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Like if he could bring in and like he could get the most out of Justin Fields, I would love that.
And
And
the key difference thing there too is we're talking all about like, oh, Luke Getsy had Aaron Rodgers and whatnot, but that's different because Aaron Rodgers wasn't being mentored by Luke Getsy. Aaron Rodgers was already Aaron Rodgers. Luke Getsy just had to come in and do his job. And I mean, I like what you're saying. I get it, and I love all that stuff too. But to a degree, a part of me is also like an offensive coordinator. There's still a quarterback coach. Like this is the NFL. Most colleges, your offensive coordinator is your quarterback's coach. If they're not like the O-line coach, that happens sometimes too. But like in this regard, like I understand they get the most out of the quarterback and everything too. But there's other coaching positions. So I like to look at an offensive coordinator more from just a totality success of an offense being run. You know, like don't look at just the quarterback names because if they only are focusing on the quarterback, they're not doing their fucking job. They're the offensive coordinator. Arguably, their job has nothing to do with players and everything to do in the NFL. Their job has nothing to do with the players, everything to do with the schemes that they're running.
Right. And that's another thing with like Greg Roman. He runs a zone, like a zone read, and that's perfect for
that would be beautiful for Justin Fields. Yes.
That would be beautiful for Justin Fields. He would get the ball out quick. He could use his legs. And that's why he did have success for Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. All three of those guys are running quarterbacks. And who's another running quarterback that just needs a little help developing? Justin Fields. So in our offense, Roschon Johnson would be a perfect zone running back. Perfect. Like he knows how to hit the gaps. I think at this point we got to move on from Khalil Herbert. DJ Moore, I think in that type of offense, you would have to play him in the slot because he would find the open gaps in the field across the middle. And then you got Cole Kmet. Because we're not built, we saw it, we're not built to run 12-man personnel in Chicago. Not right now. Like we got too many speedy receivers. We only have one good tight end. Mercedes Lewis, he's great, but he's more of a fullback this late in his career. More of a like offensive tackle, let's be honest. But yeah, we don't really have the personnel to run that 12-team person because we don't have a true definition of a running back.
We need to pick up one of those Iowa tight ends if we want to start fucking around with 12 too much.
Ostrenga? Is he?
Yeah, I mean, Ostrenga wouldn't be.
He's next up, right?
He's young though. I think when Luke Lachey comes back in. I believe Luke Lachey. Yeah, he's staying for a year. He's redshirting and stuff. When Luke Lachey gets back his role and stuff, that'll be the hot Iowa grab going into next year's draft. But Eric All potentially too. Yes.
Yeah. It could be another Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson type 2 tight ends in the first round by Iowa.
Yes.
That would be cool.
Definitely. I know people. I've already heard this argument a little bit that if Eric All ends up getting drafted, Iowa has a harder time claiming him as he was with us for a year and he already spent 4 as a very successful tight end in Michigan and whatnot, which is fair. But at the same time, as far as the record book is concerned, it's where you're drafted from. And where did he get drafted from? It was Iowa. So
that's fair. That is fair. We have a couple other coaching newses, and we're only going to name 2. There was a couple other coaches fired. Ron Rivera was fired from Washington Commanders. We kind of figured that one was coming. But we also got Mike Vrabel. That shocked the NFL right there earlier this morning. Mike Vrabel has had a very successful career in Tennessee.
And this one is actually huge, too, because so like I just said, I was down in Nashville for the coaching convention and everything. We actually went to this game. We went to the Titans and Jags game. And after the game, Derrick Henry said goodbye to the fans.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk. So the whole way this is linked, one of our coaches, his daughter actually is a chiropractor that works with some of the guys on the Titans. That's how we got the tickets and stuff. And one of our clients is Derrick Henry. And him and Vrabel butt heads. They don't like each other. They're not fans of each other. And so that was definitely a big, big drive for him leaving or wanting to leave Tennessee is just that Vrabel's there. Like he would love to finish, supposedly, he would love to finish his career as a Titan, to be a Titan his whole career. He just hated Vrabel. So now the big question is, does Derrick Henry end up staying still, or is he still planning on heading out?
I think the Titans, they have this new running back, Tajay Spears, that has performed all year for him. And Derek's getting old. And running backs, they don't have that long of a lifespan in the NFL.
No, they have
And
the
Derek
shortest
Henry,
lifespan of like any position, I'm
yeah,
sure.
and Derrick Henry's already surpassed that lifespan. And if you really think about it, like he's already living off borrowed time. And so at the end of the day, I think he's kind of a similar situation as Zeke was 2 years ago with the Dallas Cowboys, where like he's done. But I think unlike Zeke, he still has at least one more good 1,000 yard year. I think he has at least one good year that he'll go to a contender and he'll be their primary running back and he'll ball out. Maybe the Chicago Bears.
Well, that raises the question even more. Then, though, if you're right at the tail end of the career, you're almost done, and you're saying that you'd be completely satisfied, like remaining as a Titan through your career or whatever. Do you stay and just be done in a couple of years, or do you actively seek trying to move and just end it 1 year somewhere else?
Yeah, which at the end of the day, too, you got to think he probably, as much as he likes being a Titan and he wants to retire as a Titans, he probably wants to win a ring. He probably wants to
Yeah,
win it in like a
that
Super Bowl. And so at the end of the day, like that could be the driving force, even if Rabel's gone, that he could win a ring somewhere else, like the Dolphins or like the Chiefs. Imagine Derrick Henry on the Kansas City Chiefs.
they
Like,
would
where,
need that. They
yeah,
need
they
that
would.
very badly right now.
Yeah. So like, and that's where I'm saying like he would fit one of those contenders very, very well. Um, a little bit about Vrabel real quick. Vrabel, I'm glad they moved on. I think he's a hell of a coach. One aspect is I think there's going to be a reunion in New England. I think the jury's still out. Bill Belichick has not been fired or they have not parted ways yet, but there's been a lot of rumors all year that Belichick would either retire or the Patriots would mutually part ways at the end of this year. And I think Mike Vrabel could end up going back to where he won so many Super Bowls as a middle linebacker to the New England Patriots and being their head coach.
Yeah, he could be. Um, that would probably Bill Belichick definitely has to be done
Yeah.
in New England, right? Like he's not the kind of guy you can fire necessarily. I don't think anyone is ever firing Bill Belichick, but you can definitely kind of be real with them. They're like, hey, Bill,
We're parting
we,
ways.
we
Like,
think you should go somewhere, do something else, just something to that effect.
ooh, I
Much to
got,
the similar effect of that,
yeah, go ahead.
much to a similar effect of that, Pete Carroll is also parting ways with the Seattle Seahawks. He's staying on though as an operational, fuck did I say? Operational something advisor. So he's
Yeah.
not like completely out of the organization, but he will no longer be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks.
Which this is a similar move to what the Buccaneers did a couple of years ago with Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians went from being the head coach to like the front office side of the Buccaneers, and they replaced them with Todd Bowles. So it's very, very, very eerily similar to kind of what they did. But just like Bruce Arians and Bill Belichick, you really can't fire a guy like Pete Carroll. He's won Super Bowls in Seattle. Like he's done very, very well for himself, and he's been there for 15 years. 15 years as a Seattle Seahawks head coach. Of course you can't move on from him like that. Like you can't just, hey, Pete, you're done. Get out. Like, but at the same time, the Geno Smith experience is probably over in Seattle now. I think Geno Smith is done. I think the reason he was holding on to his job was because of Pete Carroll. And with him moving on, I think Seattle will be a team that we could potentially look at for trading up for that number one pick and going to get Caleb Williams.
Definitely. Seattle's a team that's going to need a quarterback. What better time to bring in a new quarterback than the same time you're going to bring in a new head coach to do the job? That would be an awesome trade. Where did Seattle land in the draft?
I think they're 18th or something.
Yep. Top
Yeah.
18 picks. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a horrible trade for us, you know?
Yeah.
Grab their 18th, grab.
DK Metcalf, and
Ooh,
let's roll.
yep. There you
Like,
go. I like that.
we don't even need Marvin Harrison at that point. We got DK and DJ Moore. They're two solidified wide receivers. Trade down to 18. Go get Michael Penix. Or go get even though he struggled a little bit. But go get someone. Like, go get a quarterback at 18 if you really don't know if Justin Fields is your guy. Go get. Don't draft number one.
I mean, don't forget, we still have our ninth too.
Yeah,
we could take a quarterback at ninth and take a lineman, a receiver, or whatever at 18.
Tight end, yeah, or somebody. Yeah, right. It all depends on the offense coordinator and what type of offense we're going to run in Chicago. But yeah, I want to throw back. If Bill, I know we were talking about Bill Belichick before Pete Carroll. I want to throw back one more thing, one more landing possibility that would just be insane. And it would be a short-term thing. But Bill Belichick and Nick Saban have been best friends for a long, long time. Bill Belichick as the Alabama Crimson Tide head coach for like 3 to 5 years. Think about it. I mean,
I don't know if Bill would go back down to college.
He's never coached in college.
So yeah, I don't know if Bill would go college.
If that happens, I'm a fortune teller. That happens, I'm a fortune teller. But no, that's like football, like fantasy right there. Bill Belichick winning the national championship for Alabama would be wild.
I feel like he's too old to make that kind of a move.
Yes,
I feel like that's something you do in your younger days when you're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's go like start up a college job. And especially to have never been a college head coach, to say you're going to be right at the tail end of your NFL career and just like, I'm going to go mess around with college now. Like, I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see that happening.
Well, another coach that went from the NFL to college and transitioning into our national championship game is Jim Harbaugh with the Michigan Wolverines versus the number 2 Washington Huskies. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. I watched some of this game at a watch party that the AFCA does during the convention. It's a free meal, free beer. Can't say no to it. Second half, went back to we just got like an Airbnb. Second half, laid down on the couch, watched it there. By that point, it wasn't as interesting, but, finished the game. Michigan ended up winning it 34-14. It was pretty close for a bit. Like, Michigan got away with it a little bit. Washington kind of brought it back within one score, and then Michigan ultimately killed them and left with the game.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
Not much, man. What we talked about was for Washington to win this game, they had to get Michigan to play Washington football, which is high-scoring, close game, and it never really was that. Michael Penix struggled in this game. After he had probably the best game of his life in the semifinals, he struggled against the Wolverines defense. And a crazy stat from this game, all year, Michigan's the first team to go 15-0, which is wild to me. And 2, their defense held every average was 10.3 points per game. That was their average throughout this whole year, 10.3. Best defense in college football. And so Michael Penix played NFL defense pretty much. Like, if you really look at the numbers and stuff, Michael Penix played NFL defense. We saw how he struggled. He wasn't spot on. Granted, he did get hurt in the first half, which I think that really swayed the score of this game and how close it was.
Just to interject a bit too, yeah, they held every team to less than 10 points and stuff. And a part of me, we're glorifying the quarterback again. Like, oh, Michael Penix just played an NFL defense. Yeah, and he did it with a college team. Like, you put Aaron Rodgers on a college team and tell him to play a college or an NFL defense, and he's going to struggle. He's going to fucking struggle because it's a college team. So, like, I get it. I do. Like, yes, to some effect, there is like you guys just played an NFL caliber defense right there. That's great. That's awesome. But at the same time, it goes into that glorifying the quarterback thing again of like, okay, well, yeah, you play an NFL defense. That means you're getting defensive linemen in your face every fucking snap. That means the DBs are covering the fuck out of your receivers. The receivers aren't finding the right holes, reading the right thing. They're getting tripped. Like there's more to just the quarterback.
For sure. Which, yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, though, Washington did get outplayed.
Did it? You knew it was going to happen from the first drive.
Yeah.
The first drive, Michigan just wasn't that like a 15-play drive or something? Just slow ground and pound. I don't know if they threw one pass. That first drive. They just hammered the thing down the field into the end zone. And from that point on, it was Michigan's game. Like, I think everybody knew that game was over right
Yeah.
after that opening drive.
Also, I want to go back to JJ McCarthy. I don't think he's good. I think he can make plays when it counts, but I don't think, like, I've watched him in the playoffs and I've watched him in the Big Ten championship, and nothing, like, he's projected a first round pick if he comes out this year, which he might because Jim Harbaugh might bounce back to the NFL. But I don't think JJ McCarthy's worth a first round pick at all. I don't think he's a good quarterback, like at least an NFL first round caliber quarterback. At least that's in my opinion. There, he's not really a first round talent, but he did make a couple of clutch plays, and like that 3rd and 8 where he ran for the first down, that was impressive. But yeah, no, Michigan's running game, Donovan Edwards breaking off 2 40-yard runs was insane. Blake Corum had a day.
He had almost 100 yards rushing by himself in 2 carries.
Yeah, insane. But yeah, no, Michigan's offensive line, give them credit because they outpowered them boys, and like it was not even close. So Michigan is your national championship winners, and that's the first time since 1997, since we were born.
Yeah,
like 1997 is the last time we weren't even born because they played the national championship in January and February. So like we weren't even born. So congrats to the Michigan Wolverines. It's nice to see fresh blood, even though it was a blowout. It was nice to see fresh blood in the national championship.
And even more to that effect, Big Ten blood in the national championship. Not a future Big Ten entering, but a true been here, been doing it Big Ten team. This title will go to the Big Ten when everyone has their future arguments of SEC, Big Ten. This one will be a tally for the Big Ten and the national championship argument. So that's a little settling to see. I like to see that happening.
For sure. But yeah, college football is officially over, sadly.
But it will be back and we will be ready for it. I'm already excited for it next season. This whole season,
Hawkeyes, but for just college football in general.
Definitely not our guys. No.
No.
All year I've been way more invested into college football than I ever have been. And NFL, I feel like I've just like it's there. Like I catch it, I watch some games, but like college to me has been I've been getting heavy into college. I'm not sure what the change is, but I've enjoyed it a lot more than I have the NFL. But now that the NFL is all we got, we'll see how that shifts with me. So first things first, we'll get into a recap of what we had this week in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start off with, like I said, game I was at, Titans versus Jaguars. Titans ended up winning it 28-20, which actually kicked the Jags out of the NFL playoffs. Trevor Lawrence looked bad.
Yeah.
He did not look good. I don't know if he's hurt or what, but he looked horrible.
I think you give Trevor Lawrence one more year and then you start questioning everything if you're a Jaguars fan. Like, I think you got to give him next year because he's had very up and down type career so far. But, yeah, he did not look good. Derrick Henry, man, last game. I know we already touched on it, but 2 touchdowns and 159 yards rushing was, like, fucking impressive. And so, like,
watching Derrick Henry play, he is such a massive guy. But at the same time, he's so fucking agile. Like, you watch him make a jump cut, and you're like, how does a body like that move like that? It is insane. There's no reason to wonder why he's just, like, the best back in the league. Like, dude is an anomaly.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, the Titans knocked them out of the playoffs, and at least Mike Vrabel got a win under his belt going out of the year. I mean, he did still get fired. It wasn't enough, as we mentioned, unfortunately, but yeah, the Titans look good, and Jacksonville is out of the playoffs, which I'm glad because Jacksonville, they started the year 7-8 or 7-3, and they fumbled the bag. Like they finished the year 9-8. Like what happened? What happened to the Jaguars? And that goes back to coaching. Like you got to think we talk up Doug Peterson a lot. Like in this pod, we mentioned his name so much of him being a good coach, but a good coach doesn't falter like that. Under like the latter part of the season, you don't fumble the bag like that, and it's just
the Jags definitely have more issues that they need to look at than just Like when they got Trevor Lawrence, things were supposed to be turning around, and they did to some degree. They got better, but they're not doing great. They've kind of fallen off a little bit in recent years, and I think they need to do something else. They need to revamp a little bit. Another important game, Dolphins versus Bills, little AFC North, East, Southwest. I don't know which one this is. East matchup going on here. This game was important, but it also wasn't, because the only factor of importance to it was seeding. Both teams were in the playoffs, but both teams were playing for the 2 seed here. The Bills ended up taking it 21-14, getting that 2 seed over the Dolphins, and now they play right. No, they don't play right away again. If it were the other way around, they would have played right away again in the wild card round, which would have been kind of crazy.
Yeah, which this is nuts, right? The Bills literally were 7-7 at one point this year. 7-7 and about eliminated from the playoffs. They ran the table. Talk about not faltering at the end of the year. Doug McDermott did amazing. Doug McDermott, he did an amazing job as a coach this year. And yeah, that's all you can really ask for, man. And Josh Allen's kind of turned it around. But on the flip side, Mike McDaniels fell off. Like he started the year off 10-1 or 9-2 or something like that, and he really struggled down the stretch. And that's the same thing that happened last year. The Dolphins started off 8-3 last year and missed the playoffs. Like, you think about this, it's just like, okay, Mike McDaniels, you're a great innovator. You're a good offensive-minded head coach. But you got to finish down the stretch. And Tua struggled. And now Miami has to head to Kansas City and below 0 temperatures and play the Kansas City Chiefs outdoors when you're from Miami. Are you kidding me? Like, that's a rough draw. So, like, yeah, you say it didn't have that much of importance, but it does, because now you're going to play the Chiefs in 0-degree weather when Tua is not a 0-degree weather quarterback. And Tyreek Hill, he played in Kansas City. But at the same time, he does better in warm weather climates. And look at this. Like, Dolphins are probably going to lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I'm still not confident in that, because I feel like every game of the Chiefs I've turned on, the Chiefs are fucking struggling too. Like, they are also 11-6, and they've given up some pretty bad fucking losses. Now, they are still a good team. I believe in saying that. They're still like a high level, obviously playoff caliber team and everything, but still they have struggled all in their own. And the big difference might come down to a head coaching battle with Andy Reid. And in that regard, Andy Reid, you can't go against Andy Reid winning any coaching battle, I would say, at this moment. But we'll have to see how the Chiefs receivers play.
Yeah.
Like, we'll have to see if they show up or not and how many balls they end up dropping if they are going to end up giving it away to Miami. But we'll talk more about upcoming in a minute here. Last thing we need to talk about with these recaps, the most important game of the weekend, Bears versus Packers. Bears lost again.
Yep.
17-9. Didn't score a touchdown. Scored 4 field goals.
It was close in the first 3 quarters. I mean, it was close all game. Like, to be honest, this is probably the closest Bears-Packers game we've seen in a long time. If you really, truly break it down, this is the closest it has been in a long time. And at the end of the day, we're 0-10 in our last 10 matches against the Green Bay Packers, which is embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing.
That sucks.
That sucks. Justin Fields is 0-5. Eberflus is 0-4 against the Green Bay Packers. And I hate it. I hate it so much because I had so much potential going in. Like, I thought I had confidence going into this game. I thought the Bears could beat the Green Bay Packers this time. And our defense held them to 17 points. The Packers have been averaging like 24 points a game for the last 6 weeks. And so they've been doing well. So the Bears held them to 17, and any other week we would have won that type of game. But we suck against the Packers. They're literally our kryptonite, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
And this is one of those things too, where potentially, like I said, I don't know whose offense they're running, but we potentially should have seen this coming more, considering Luke Getsy is our offensive coordinator. And the Packers defense probably has a pretty damn good idea of what Luke Getsy likes to do.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And it looked like he didn't even change the game plan from like week one. It was the same game plan from week one. Dude, you got to evolve with the NFL season. You got to run with the punches, and he just didn't do it. And Justin Fields, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He did not look good in his last outing, if it was his last outing as a Chicago Bear. And it wasn't all him. Like, he missed a couple of throws, but he just didn't have time to throw the ball. And that also falls on our offensive line. Tevin Jenkins had one of his worst games as an NFL pro, and he's been great.
The O-line play was horrible in this game, and I don't know why it happened. Like, I want to say our O-line is horrible and it sucks and it's shitty, but we've seen them play all right. Like, they've been doing a decent enough job, like a chunk of the season. It's just every once in a while they have games where it looks like they completely fall apart, and it's like, guys, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? Like, can we please play a 17 game season and just fucking be happy? Like, be consistent. You know, I don't even care if you're absolute Michigan ass kickers, you know, like I don't need a Michigan O-line just pounding it down the fucking field every single drive, but like, be consistent, make decent plays. You're going to hold once in a while. You're going to give up a sack once in a while, but don't everybody do it in one fucking game. I don't understand how this happens.
Yeah. And another player I want to mention too is like DJ Moore. Where were you? Like, I know he's been battling injury and he's been going through that, but DJ Moore was non-existent. So the Packers did a really good job at shutting down the Chicago offense. Like, at the end of the day, like, give the flowers where they're due. Yeah, that's all I kind of got on this game. I'm just fucking mad that we lost to the Packers once again. We did finish third in our division. We didn't finish fourth. The Vikings finished under us. So look at us. We're not in last place.
It's the little victories. It's little victories that we're looking forward to.
Right.
Hopefully next year will be a better year. Yeah, we really don't know if we're keeping Fields or not, if he'll be our starting guy or not. I'd like it to be, but at the same time, it does make a lot of sense to switch out the offensive personnel a little bit with an offensive staff change. Unless that offensive staff change, as we mentioned, complements the offensive personnel we got, which is what a lot of successful teams would do with their bona fide quarterbacks. So, I mean, it's not crazy to think that we do bring in like a zone read kind of guy that, you know, would fit Justin beautifully. But
also, before we move on, Justin Fields is now officially top 10 in Chicago Bears history and passing yards, which is very embarrassing. And he's 7th in passing touchdowns, which is also very embarrassing, especially for a guy that struggled his first 2 years and kind of figured it out the last 2 years. Like, it's like, still, like, what the fuck, Chicago? Like, and this is where it comes to the situation, and we don't have to get into it much today. It's Chicago. You've been doing the same thing nonstop of giving up on quarterbacks way too early. Do not give up on Justin Fields. Build around the guy because you got a true talent.
A part of that issue is what we've been saying too. It's a revolving door. Because we lose a quarterback with a new coach, then we lose a coach, then we lose a quarterback, then the coach, then the quarterback, and the coach. And like those two things need to work together. It's like you said, when you lose a coach, you might as well be losing like that off it. Like that's a different quarterback now because he's in a different system. He's learning a new playbook. Like that's not the same guy. And when when you get a new quarterback, it's the same thing. He just came from somewhere else. So he has new system, new playbook to learn. So much changes. So I think we do need to keep things the same to some degree. Now, that can happen both ways with keeping Justin or getting rid of him. Because once again, Eberflus is staying, but we're thinking more offensive scheme, offensive coordinator type of role. So new OC come in, new quarterback come in, or keep Justin for at least the cultural aspects and potentially bring in an OC with a scheme that fits him beautifully and keep those two together for the next however long.
Yep. And I agree. And that's what Ryan Poles said in his conference today. He said continuity is going to be key for this team. And a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, continuity, that means they're bringing back Fields, which not necessarily, like you said, continuity could be the head coach. Matt Eberflus could be a new coordinator. and the new quarterback. Continuity coming from this point forward, or continuity coming from this point in the past? Who
Yes, that's the
knows?
question.
And that's the question that we're going to be asking all the way up until April, probably.
Damn right. But that being said, our playoffs are set. We have Wildcard Weekend coming up this weekend. So let's get into it. Matchups. First game we've got on the slate, Texans versus Browns. Saturday at 3:30. I don't like this matchup because these are two teams that low key I would love to see make runs, but they go against each other right away here. So now I'm conflicted.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I hate this matchup. I would have rather seen the Colts beat the Texans in Week 18 and the Colts go, because then it would have been a no-brainer. Oh, I want the Browns to win this game.
Yeah.
But I'm still right. I love CJ Stroud, and we've loved CJ Stroud from the beginning of this podcast since he's been drafted, and even him at Ohio State. But at the end of the day, I love the storyline of Joe Flacco. I love it. Like, I love a 38-year-old dead in the water quarterback coming up and leading the Cleveland Browns of all teams to the playoffs. And granted, their defense is incredible. And I want the Browns to win this game. I think CJ Stroud will have his time in the sun, because I think he's a damn good quarterback, and D'Amico Ryans is a damn good head coach in Houston, and they're building something very, very special. But I like the Browns. I like them with Joe Flacco. I like Myles Garrett. I always have. I like Kevin Stefanski. I want the Browns to win
this comes back into our quarterback talk a little bit of CJ Stroud has looked great. He's going to be a high-level quarterback. He's already had a ton of success, which we don't see in a rookie season hardly ever. And because of that, this is going to be his first rookie NFL game. That's a different animal. You know, like everybody says it. Once you reach Wildcard Weekend, once you're in postseason games, like you're playing, like that's different. That's a different level of football right there. And so having a rookie like that going up against an old-time veteran who's done it before, has had a ton of success, knows how to do it. He's going to be calm doing it. It's going to be a battle. It is going to be an absolute battle. And even with just the Browns are the number one defense in the NFL. So you're adding that factor in of you have a rookie quarterback who's had success, nonetheless, is a rookie quarterback going against the best defense in the NFL. And that's going to be a struggle for anybody. You like the Browns, though. I have a little bit more of a connection with Stroud just because of the whole Justin Fields Ohio State connect. So I'm probably going to be rooting for the Texans a good amount. The Browns,
That's fair.
The Browns, I think have better odds, but I'm a root for the Texans going into it.
Well, and it's going to be a revenge game a little bit too. They did play December 24th on Christmas Eve, and the Browns won 36-22. So they kind of blew them out of the water. So we'll see. We'll see if CJ Stroud corrected himself throughout that 14-point game. But we'll see, man. I'm excited for this game. This is a great way to kick off Wildcard Weekend.
I wouldn't call a 2-score game an absolute blowout, but
that's true. But another 2-score game that we had earlier in the year is Chiefs-Dolphins. And that was played in Germany earlier in the year. But at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs are going to run away with this. Like you said, with Andy Reid, you would take Andy Reid in any coaching battle in the NFL right now. And even though the Chiefs have struggled throughout this year, they're still the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're still going to figure it out in the playoffs.
Yep. And the Dolphins, as much as I do love them, I love Daniels and everything too, there is a little bit of a history with their track record in going against the higher level, higher caliber teams and going against the below 500 teams. When they go against a team that's above 500, they have a much more like split record compared to when they go against a team that is below 500. They are almost undefeated. So this will definitely be a big, big battle. Obviously, I'm going to root for the Dolphins. I'm going to be sitting here cheering Dolphins on the entire way. Fuck the Chiefs. I think their time in the spotlight is out. I don't like the way they've been acting about their kind of upsetting season. And I want to see the Dolphins come in and fuck some shit up. So I'm going to be going Dolphins. Next game, Bills, Steelers. Steelers barely got in, but they got in hugely with their last game. I don't even remember who they just played, but I remember watching it. Our head coach is a big Steelers fan, I guess, and so he was all about it. But they beat the Ravens. I mean, Ravens were sitting people. I'm thinking of the
Yeah.
game before that. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
the
thinking of the game.
Seahawks.
I think, yeah.
Seahawks.
Yes, the big win against the Seahawks. That's the one that led to them getting in ultimately. But going against the Bills have been getting a lot more of a hot streak lately. Josh Allen has figured things out. It feels weird to say that he has to figure things out every season instead of just being like, oh, he's figured things out in his career. Nah, started this season very, very rough. But I think he's started to figure it out. I like the Bills.
I like the Bills too. I can't take the Steelers. I'm sorry. I would love to go opposite of you, but I think the Bills win this game easily. The one thing, don't count Mike Tomlin out, though. Mike Tomlin's a damn good coach, and look where he got him. Like, they're in the playoffs with Mason Rudolph, of all people. They're not even starting Kenny Pickett. They're not starting Mitch Trubisky. They're starting Mason Rudolph, and he's done really great for him the last 3 games. But also, TJ Watt is hurt, and that's why I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, that is true. TJ Watt being hurt does present a big, big factor into that there. I didn't even think about that. I forgot about that. But next game, Cowboys versus Packers. I think this is a no-brainer. I think we're both going to be very, very adamant about the Cowboys beating the living fuck out of the Packers in this game.
Fuck the Packers. Sad stat, the Packers are the youngest team ever to make the playoffs, evidently. They kept saying that. Tony Romo kept saying that during the Bears and Packer broadcast. I hate it. But yeah, Dallas is going to win this game. Dak Prescott has been looking great, and I think Dallas pulls this one away really, really easily, and I think they move on to the divisional round.
I don't want them to just win. I want them to literally – I want to shut out. I want them to shut the fucking Packers out. Just absolutely daddy them.
Yep. I would love it. Love it. All right, next
now,
game.
The big one, matchup of the year. We've been talking about this a little bit. Lions versus Rams. Good old little QB trade back and forth, coming button heads again, but on opposite teams. So I like Matthew Stafford a lot. But I also have fucked with the Lions heavy this year. You know?
Yeah.
I do enjoy the Lions a lot. So I don't know. I'm going to be very torn in this one. I think the Lions as a whole unit, I want to see win this game. I want to see be successful. I'd like to see the Lions pull it off. But a small part of me, for the sake of Matthew Stafford, also wants him to go out and absolutely fucking ball out.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Matt Stafford fan, and I think you know that. At the end of the day, I think Jared Goff, what they did to Jared Goff in LA, he could have won a Super Bowl with that team when Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl. I get it. Go out and get a better quarterback. I get where you're coming from, LA. But I think Jared Goff could have won a Super Bowl in LA. And he can win a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions. And I'm saying that right now. I know it sounds far-fetched because it's the Detroit Lions, but I like the Lions, man. I love Dan Campbell's coaching style. Very aggressive, very firm, but very loving head coach. I love that. I love that aspect about Dan Campbell. I love that they have a whole bunch of Iowa players. I love that they have David Montgomery. I love every little aspect of this Detroit Lions team. And I love that Matt Stafford is coming back to the Dome so the Lions can win their first playoff game since 1994. And I think the Lions are going to win this damn game.
That is such a long time. That is, like I said, I love the Lions from an organizational standpoint. Yeah, they have a bunch of Iowa guys. I love Dan Campbell as a head coach. David Montgomery is awesome. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. I like him. The Lions have so much going for them, and I do love them. But I do like Stafford more than I like Jared Goff at the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how you love Stafford more than Jared Goff. But, I mean, each their own.
He was so underrated. Like, he was on the Lions for so long, and everyone thought he was such a shitty quarterback when really he was a fucking awesome quarterback. He was just on a really shitty team.
Which And and I do like that aspect, but I would have loved to see Matt Stafford stay. He requested a trade out of Detroit. They didn't want, he requested to get out of Detroit. He had 14 years. He didn't want to go
No,
through the Dan Campbell. He didn't want to go through the Dan Campbell regimen. He wanted to be out and he wanted to go to a solidified head coach in the NFL and Sean McVay. And we're not even
yeah,
talking about the
because
coaching aspect of
because
this.
he
Dan,
wasted his entire fucking career with a shitty ass team when he could have been winning Super Bowls. Can you blame him?
that's fair. No, I don't blame him, but at the end of the day, he should have stuck it out because Dan Campbell versus Sean McKay might be the underlying story that no one's really talking about. Both of them are great coaches in their own right. Sean McVay is a innovator, offensive minded genius, youngest head coach to ever get hired in the NFL. Meanwhile, Dan Campbell, longtime player, rah rah guy that isn't about the X and O's, but a coach of men. And I love that aspect. I'd rather take the rah rah guy and the coach of men over the play called genius, the youngest head coach ever, any day of the week.
Sure,
So we
sure.
the
But here's the thing. His whole fucking career, like, sure, that is super easy to say right now with the Lions in the playoffs and the hindsight and whatnot. But think about it. You're not going to stay on the same team when you've wasted your whole fucking career. He's seen the same thing in and out. I'm sure every coach that he's had hired at the Lions was the same. Like, this is going to be the guy to do it. This is going to be the guy to do it. This is going to be the guy to do it. At what point do you have to be like, I think I just have to get the fuck out of here?
and that's fair. That is fair. But the city of Detroit deserves this, man. The city of Detroit
I'm not saying
deserves
they don't. You're acting like my argument has anything to do with the fact that, like, I don't love what the Lions are doing. I do love what
right.
the Lions are doing. We're talking about Matthew Stafford right now. We're not talking anything about what the Lions are doing right now.
Right. Which I'm trying to bring it into a whole team and not just quarterback, since we do quarterback versus quarterback a lot. I'm trying to go whole team aspect. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think Detroit needs to win this game. And I think they will win this game. And the city of Detroit is
I
going to
think
be
they have
wild.
a better shot at it. I think they have
Yeah.
a better shot at it. Yes. I was off of this. I wasn't talking about this matchup, though. You asked why I like Matt Stafford so much. I said why. And you said, like, oh, well, he left Detroit when he should have stayed. Like, we weren't talking about this game anymore. We were talking about something completely different. But no, in this game, yes, I do love the Lions to win this. Biggest reason, it's got to be Iowa ties. Like, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, 2 Iowa guys just this year, rookie season. Like, fuck. How do you not love that?
For sure. Yeah. No, the Iowa ties makes it even more better. But no, I do agree that Matt Stafford, yeah, he had a couple of 14 shitty years in Detroit. But I do like Jared Goff, man. I love the underdog story of a team giving up on you and you go out and ball with your second team. I like that aspect. I have always liked that aspect of a quarterback going to ball out with another team when they shouldn't have. And people call them a bust when he's not. And he's a very, very, very underrated quarterback. People talk about you talk about Matt Stafford being underrated. Jared Goff is very underrated.
Fair enough. But getting into our next matchup, we will go ahead and go with Buccaneers versus Eagles. This actually might be more interesting than I think, because right now, just based off of reading it, you could probably even tell that I was like, okay, yeah, here's our last game. But also, the Eagles have been not doing well at all. And the Bucs have been playing on a pretty big hot streak. So this one could actually be a really interesting matchup.
Yeah, man, I am super, super excited about this game. I know, like you said, it was not that much excitement, but this game has actually got a lot of stuff into it. Like Jalen Hurts has been playing like shit. Nick Sirianni has probably lost the locker room, especially after losing to the Giants like they did. And the Eagles look like they're just collapsing. We talk about a team not playing well down the stretch. That's the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you're playing the exact opposite team. Baker Mayfield struggled in the beginning of the year. A lot of people talked about him getting replaced by Kyle Trask, and then he turned it on. And Mike Evans is having a better year than he had with Tom Brady last year. And Baker Mayfield found a home in Tampa Bay, and he'll solidify that home if they go out and beat the Eagles in this wild card weekend. And I think they got a really, really good shot at it. And I really like the Bucks.
I genuinely think the way they've been playing, this could honestly be the Bucks game. The Bucks still have a lot of power pieces. I've always kind of liked Baker Mayfield. I've always thought he was a cool guy and whatnot. I can't speak too much for his quarterback abilities, but I've enjoyed him. I've liked him. I want to see him succeed. Eagles got close enough to winning the Super Bowl last year. Let's see some fresh shit in there. So I'm down with fucking for the Bucks right now. The Eagles are falling apart. They definitely don't have that locker room. We just talked about it last week. How the locker room is falling apart. Everyone's yelling at each other. Like it's chaos. So I think just from a unity standpoint, Bucks probably pop out with this.
I hope so, man. I really do. And I think this is going to be a great game. It's a great Monday night because, like, you just watched a full weekend of playoff games. And this is one of those games that you can turn on and you're like, I'll watch it, but, like, I'll also be, like, doing laundry or doing dishes at the same time. It's one of those games that you can watch, like, a TV show with your significant other, but have it on your phone.
Have it on your phone.
Yep.
That's honestly a lot of games for me. Outside of, like, the Bears and stuff, I watch quite a few games that way. But
welcome to living with the significant other. That is going to be your life for the near future.
Oh, yeah.
So good luck. It sucks a lot, but at the same time, it's okay. But it does suck.
It has its pros and cons. But that's all we have time for today. So go ahead, tell us what you guys think. If you like the episode, whatnot. Let's see if we have a wild card weekend. I have nothing else to say.
All right, guys. Got 2 words, and it's kind of depressing 2 words, but bear down.